RMP Radio is back on the air. Hi, I'm your host, Mr. Fourth Row, and joining me once again here on RMP Radio, the evil genius of professional wrestling, Titus Machiavelli. Titus, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Yourself?
I'm doing just fine, hanging in there. So, got to talk to you a little while ago on RMP Radio, but got you back again. You recently returned to Rocky Mountain Pro, doing the color commentating there with KD. How does it feel to be back?
It's great, man. I tell you what, you take some time away. You think, it's good to be, wrestling retired, air quotes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's just something about being around the business that is so invigorating. It fills something in me. I was just sitting at the school on Monday night a couple days ago, and talking to some of the guys. The thing that I miss the most is being around the boys, being around everybody there. I mean, you've got a diverse group of people, different political ideologies, backgrounds, whatever. But we all love pro wrestling, and that's something that is it's positive to be around.
Yeah, it's like almost fulfilling in an aspect.
Absolutely, and we got so much good young talent, a nice fresh group of people since I've come back that it's just it's even more so now.
Yeah, you find having that like you said, the fresh new talent and the such being able to wet your whistle, keep you going, keep you invigorated.
Oh, absolutely. It's really interesting. When I first came to Rocky Mountain Pro back in the old NRW days versus now, there's so many similarities. It's almost comforting in some ways.
Yeah. Well, don't they say that the wacky world of professional wrestling is cylindrical in ways?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what goes around comes around.
Yeah. It's great. You have any people in particular that you've got your eye on, and sometimes does it ever get to you like you forget? Oh man, I'm supposed to be calling this match and giving commentary.
Yeah, when you're doing commentary, sometimes you get lost in a good match. And you realize that you haven't spoken in 45, 60, 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And I love to talk, so that's always a problem. But sometimes you get a really great quality matchup going, you just want to watch, and then and that's a good thing in one aspect because the story that's being told in the ring is so much better than anything that myself or KD could even begin to add to it. But you have a role and a responsibility to the fans to call. So yeah, sometimes you get yourself lost in it.
Yeah, I can see that. So you came back at Milestone, is that correct?
That's correct. Milestone 10.
10, yeah.
Matt Yade and I had a conversation about, we had Danger Dean come back.
Yeah.
It made sense for me to come back for one night only. Come back. Got with Lucas Bradwell. He came back, helped us out with doing that. So yeah, it was great to be back for the night. Have an adrenaline shot of pro wrestling, so to speak. And that was going to be, that would be it. It was Milestone 10. I had to be at Milestone 10.
Yeah, well, like Yaden said, the next 10 years for RMP.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're looking at, my years with RMP being involved. My first milestone at Milestone 5, Milestone 6, obviously, was very special in the sense that I was in the main event. I was involved in 7 and 8, called 9 on pay-per-view. So it just made sense to have my 6th one being in the booth and just having no responsibility other than just calling great action. That was nice.
Yeah. Speaking of milestones, Milestone 7, not so great for you, probably.
Not so great from a standpoint of everything was lost in that main event. From my job as the CEO,
Yeah.
hoodlums ownership of the school,
Yeah.
and that basically ended the 4 Point Cartel at that point as well. So yeah, it, life goes as it's supposed to, though.
Right. Yeah. So true. Yeah. And then, like you just alluded to a little bit too, return for fans to come to RMP as well. You know, we had this big pause in the world with sporting events, wrestling, and I mean, what a fantastic point for RMP to come back with Milestone 10 for getting people at the shows and stuff too. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And it's the tale of 2 years. I mean, the year before we were downtown, and I can't remember the name of the place, and it's going to drive me nuts the rest of the interview. But we had 500 people. We're on pay-per-view. It's it feels like this is the apex. We're killing it, and then a year later, we're going through all the virus stuff, and
Yeah.
and having such a limited ability to have people there because of social distancing and the capacities and so forth.
Yeah.
It's a difference, of two different coins. But yeah, what a great way to come back and have fans. Unfortunately, we're back to not having fans at TV again, unfortunately. But it felt like everything just sort of hit right for that event, being able to have fans and all that went around with it.
Yeah. So I think you're thinking of the Summit Music Hall.
That's what I'm thinking of. Some music hall. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic venue.
Great venue.
Yeah. So since you just kind of alluded to most recently, RMP had a show on Twitch for Charged, and it was turning the Fast Performance Center into the yet unnamed. Hopefully, voting for the fans to name the what happens to the Fast Performance Center when it gets turned into live shows. How was that live show? No fans, just the wrestling and the staff for you. Did it feel strange? Was it weird because the wrestlers could hear you on commentary, or what's the whole gambit? How did it happen for you?
Well, first and foremost, obviously so weird. Fans, as we have experienced in 2020, from WWE to AEW and all the sorts, fans are such an integral part of the pro wrestling experience. Not having fans there is a detriment to the product. I think that both WWE and AEW have done a good job of turning that around and giving that fan feel again.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, doing it at Fast Performance, the home of our the new home of our school, it felt familiar.
Yeah.
Because when I first came to RMP, we were doing things at and I'm not going to mention that place because they don't deserve to be mentioned.
Okay.
But with the location that we were at, that gym there's a similarity there. There was a familiarity to doing TV like we did in those early YouTube years of Charged. So there was that on that side where we felt like this is something that, me and KD, we used to do every single month, couple times a month. And so that side made it easier. It's going to be our home for the entirety of 2021 as we sit here today. 2021 has been booked. We're going to be doing them there once a month, taping episodes, 4 episodes at a time. So it's it's going to be our home. We better get used to it for now. And if the world changes, we'll change with it. But it was a good experience overall. I think we had a good taping. It went off without a hitch, which is a rarity in indie wrestling.
Yeah, and with such a quick turnaround, because there was days from the time that the restrictions kind of tightened up a little bit when the show was supposed to happen at Bierstadt. So I mean, it was literally, I think the final thing came down the day before, where it was just like we can't be there because of the restrictions of the location. We couldn't have all of our wrestlers, all of our production and all that. We just ourselves exceeded the capacity of the location. Yeah. Forget about having paying customers in there. It's a bar, for goodness sakes. They can't even sell a drink. So we would have to have
people outside. And of course, that day would have been super cold and uncomfortable. So it was a good call to make. It just last minute makes it tougher.
Right. Yeah. So true. So then kind of transitioning from there, as you know, you coming back, you are now doing booking there at RMP. How's that been for you?
Well, it's funny. I come back for Milestone 10, one night only.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, "Oh, we're so glad to have you back, Titus." Oh, no, not back. I'm just visiting, hanging out for, helping you guys get, this great show together. But I am not back.
Right.
And then I come back to do just commentary. And now, of course, I've taken the book, so I'm doing all the creative, and I'm teaching character development class at the Al Snow school, our official school associated with Al Snow Wrestling and, of course, OVW. So now I've jumped. It's no more just a toe. I jumped both feet in the deep end of the pool. So it's been great. It's been some adjustments that come along with, adding so much. My streaming has taken a little bit of a back seat to that because that's my primary function. But it's been great, and I love being back in creative. It's one of I was doing that back, before Milestone 5, did that through Milestone 6. I lost that job because they hired this guy named Vince Russo. You might have heard his name before. So I lost my creative to Vince Russo. How can you be sad about that?
Right.
But it's been great being back. I have just sort of had those creative juices to book pro wrestling again. And years and years ago, I used to do e-fetting and fantasy wrestling. Started doing some of that on my stream, and it really sort of got those creative juices. And when Matt Yaden said, Titus, we really want you to do this, it wasn't even hard yes for me. It was absolutely. I've got so many ideas. We've already begun the process of executing those first steps in our first taping. The last taping we had, the one we just talking about over fast, that was my first shows of taking over the book. So it's been great.
Yeah. What is it that you like to emphasize when it comes to for you said you're doing character development? What do you like to emphasize to the guys and gals?
The importance of having real detail to your character. Our first class actually was a week ago, and the thing about developing a character, whether it's working with our new backstage interviewer or even a ring announcer, is you having depth to the character. For me, a character is an onion. You just keep pulling those layers back, and I think that's where excuse me, if you have a character, you've got depth to the character. Where did the character come from? What kind of background do they have? Those are things. If you look at a good movie or a good television show, it takes time to flush it out. And this is a great time when you got a lot of our young students. This is the time to flush those things out. It is, for me, if I were to put it in a word, it's depth. Having depth, because when you go to your character, you're not playing a character, you're just being the character, and there's a difference.
Right. Yeah. So, specifically, when you mentioned backstage interviewer or a ring announcer, you would almost like to try to emphasize that you want to make sure that you're giving off a first impression vibe when you're specifically those two points in a program.
Oh, absolutely. It's for me, every role is important in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the wrestlers in the ring. They're telling their story inside the ring.
Yeah.
The referee is, to me, one of the most vital pieces of a pro wrestling show, because they're the enforcer of the rules. They create the competition. They count the pinfalls or whatever. It sort of quote unquote legitimizes the sport of pro wrestling. The ring announcer is that, especially when you have a live. I started as a ring announcer, and so I'm really hard on ring announcers. Ring announcer is, with a live audience, it's what is the host of the show. They're the one that keeps the pace. They're the one that keeps the engagement. They're the one that gets the crowd, excited, ready to go for, the next matchup. And so that's an important thing, just from a logistics standpoint. The backstage interviewer helps so much. And I'm a big, when I book, and you're going to see, as we get into those episodes of TV, I like backstage interviews. I love vignettes or backstage promos because it really allows pure character development and storyline development to happen. And so that's, it's just sitting with our backstage interviewer, Santi, on Monday. And I really want him to be a journalist. That's what Mean Gene was a journalist. He would go and get that information, go to that locker room and get that detail. And that's such an important part of it as well. So every role is so important in the totality of the television program.
Right. Yeah. And one thing I was going to ask you, since you kind of mentioned it, now with right now with the state of things are with RMP, it's especially important to try to get that message, that storytelling, to get through the camera to the viewer.
Yeah, because it's 100% to the viewer.
Yeah.
And you can't leave anything unspoken sometimes, because a live audience can pick up on things that happen in a ring or in a promo, and without that crowd's reaction,
right,
that then the viewer at home has to 100% pick up on it, and we have to sort of spoon feed those things in some way, because there's no other reaction going on other than yours alone by itself watching the show. That's difficult. So that's why you have to really, make sure that you, like I said, spoon feed it out there, because it's a little bit different without a real crowd.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so along the lines of booking, you mentioned it. You are running a fantasy league as well there on your streaming and stuff like that. Tell the listeners what your fantasy league is all about, and then additionally, what's easier to book, the guys and gals in RMP or in your fantasy league?
Well, I years ago in the late '90s, I was really big into what they call e-feds.
Yeah.
You create your own character. You write out, and we had forums in those, and you write out your promo. You set the stage of where you're at, and yada yada yada. The matches, the shows are fully written out. The matches themselves are written out, and I was really into that in those late '90s, having run multiple very busy e-fed promotions. Then, of course, years later, I get into the business and you do it for real. Having been taking some time away, I decided to rehash my last e-fed, GWA, Great Wrestling Action. It's 20 right now. There's 23 original characters. All of them are created by me. Only one is a real character, one that I created while I was at RMP my first time around, the Revolution Ranger. He looks better than ever on the video game, but it allowed me at that time to really start doing some things creatively that were running in my head, and things that I'm starting to implement at RMP. I started to construct while doing this fantasy wrestling promotion. To answer your question, what's easier? That's not, there's no easy answer there, because obviously when you're talking about fantasy wrestling, we're dealing with a video game, WWE 2K19. The game does what the game wants to do. I attempted to hot shot my very first big main event angle with a surprise run-in on the very first episode. Well, the game didn't do the run-in. Oh. So I decided to do it the next week. Game didn't do it again. 4 weeks total, and it never did the run-in. So that makes it hard to book, because what you want to do doesn't happen. And of course, conversely, the game also makes its own decisions and says, "Oh, I'm gonna have this guy run out in this match." Okay, well, how am I going to use that? So that in that aspect, it's difficult because you don't have full control. You can't dictate who wins a match and who loses a match, and so there's difficulties there. But on the flip side, I don't have to deal with backstage politics. I don't have to have, well, that doesn't make sense for my character. Those are things that you never hear from a computer-created wrestling character. You hear that from talent, for good and for bad.
Right.
And I mean that honestly, because there were some things that were brought up in our last episodes of tapings that were brought up. I'm like, what? That's a really good idea. Let's go that direction. And let's just incorporate this to kind of push it to my, where I want to go storyline wise. So there's good things in there, but then there are bad things in there. As we all know as wrestling fans, backstage politics is a real thing, from WWE all the way down to even backyard wrestling has politics. So there's positives and negatives on both sides, and I'm glad I got them both to do because it's wrestling. It's fun.
Yeah. Do you find that one helps you with another?
I think that I would totally agree with that, because as I said a minute ago, some of the things that I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do in a fantasy world, and knowing that it's really difficult because you can't have promos and you can't have, backstage vignettes, storytelling devices. Creating these ideas that now I'm able to implement in the real world because I have all those tools. I would say that it absolutely is a benefit to me. One, that I can, just goof off and not have any seriousness with a fantasy wrestling. And if a match gets all hokey pokey, it's all hokey, whatever. It's fine. It's a video game. Yeah. But then you've got the serious side of things where you take it way serious, and so it's a nice yin and yang to it both.
Yeah. Now, hard-hitting question: are we going to maybe see a storyline or some kind of little piece that comes from the fantasy league in RMP?
At this point, nothing is planned per se, but there are things and ideas that I have that I would love to see if I could move it from that world into the RMP world.
Awesome.
But nothing that is begun.
Gotcha. Yeah, awesome. All right. So since you said you were going to be you were there for just milestone 10, but you, like they keep saying, it pulled me back in. One of the things you got to do also recently was the most recent Shocktober. And in Rocky Mountain Pro, Shocktober is known for some memorable moments. And you've been around for a while. What have been some memorable moments of Shocktober that come top to mind for you?
I think one of the ones that really comes to mind the most for me, and coincidentally had nothing to do with me whatsoever, which is a rarity, is when Curtis Cole beat Tyler Stinson for the Rocky Mountain Pro Championship. That was shocking to everybody who I was actually watching at home on Twitch. That's a great thing. The shock in Shocktober. There's always something that happens. This year, probably the least shocking Shocktober, just because of the way the world is in 2020. Young new talent that's coming through our school, and so this year probably wasn't as shocking. But my favorite moment of Shocktober is Curtis Cole winning the Rocky Mountain Pro Championship, because it was well earned and deserved. And of course, I helped Tyler Stinson take that off of him. So it was, it came around nicely for us.
Right. Yeah. And, and I don't think this is quite a secret, but if it is, my understanding talking to Curtis really didn't know before the match.
Curtis had no idea at all. No.
Yeah.
No, there's been a couple of times that the Rocky Mountain Pro Championship has changed hand unbeknownst to
the participants.
I can tell you on 2 occasions for sure, that being one. And then Stephen Ashburn all the way back as Stefan Lacroix beating Duff Doyle. He had no idea that night.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so this past Shocktober, I would submit that probably the shock in the Shocktober was probably Rochelle Riveter turning on Aligato.
That is the shock of the night. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You know, in ring and in real life, the best of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Between the two of them, things turned, and I guarantee you'll find out reasons why in the near future.
A little foreshadowing from Titus. That's awesome. That's great.
Because Shocktober, I didn't book.
Oh,
that
okay.
was the last taping of television done with the old committee that they had of leadership. And so what happens from Shocktober and beyond is either all because of me or Matt's fault because he got in my way.
It's funny. Do you find picking up the storylines and doing the booking from one person or one committee to another is difficult, or you just have to kind of, hey, what were you doing here? You know, just kind of find out what was going on.
That's really what it really comes down to, is you kind of see what was going on, where they were. The problems they had prior was it was a committee of different people with great wrestling minds who struggled with, you know, we have too many, in my opinion, we have too many cooks. Sometimes you either do one of two things. You go, okay, you handle the Lockets division, you handle this, and I'll handle this, and we'll share and collaborate on that. And sometimes those are good because you've got individual people handling individual, you know, areas, as opposed to one person in charge of everything. But the flip side is continuity. You don't have things that flow together. You've got just, this is a storyline, this is a storyline, and that's a storyline. And they don't ever intersect. When you've got someone, and it's just me writing television now, I have the greater view of, well, how can I get this Lockette division tied into that storyline and put this one in that? So, you know, it's a web of stories, and everything has a relationship. And I think that was the disadvantage they had, was they didn't have any one vision going forward. Where I come in, I have one vision, and you pick up on where people are going. Several things within the Lockette division are going in a direction that I wanted it to go anyways. So that was, let me just pick up where you're going, add my secret sauce, and we'll keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes I don't think there was a lot of storylines that were really entrenched post Shocktober. So it really wasn't that difficult, in the sense that there was sort of some real openness on where we were going anyways.
Gotcha. Yeah. So like when you're basically you're putting all the pieces together, like you said, in all these matches and all these storylines, and when you put them together, it looks like it's a product that is being presented by Rocky Mountain Pro, for example. It falls under that umbrella. It promotes the brand. It makes a feel of, this is what Rocky Mountain Pro is.
Yeah, and everything, you know, like a TV show, everything has a relation to each other. What happens in around the Lockette's division should have some touch, impact, intertwining with the Charge Championship.
Right.
Everything, it's an ensemble cast, is the way I look at it. It's a Friends or a Big Bang Theory. Everybody has their storylines that they all have in the episode, you know, but they're all related in one way or another. If you're talking like Big Bang Theory, you've got, you know, Sheldon and Amy are doing this, and Leonard and Penny are doing this, and then they intersect, and they're doing this and this, and now they're all doing that, and then they separate and they do their own thing again. That's, in my mind, a great storytelling. Everything is involved with one another, because that's real life. And I think that's how you present Rocky Mountain Pro or any wrestling show, is as it's an ensemble cast. And if you're missing, part of the cast that night, you don't have a full show. So it does highlight Rocky Mountain Pro as a brand itself. Obviously, you've got multiple different types of stars. People like this character and that character, but it's only when it's the whole group together are you at your strongest.
Right. Yeah, so true. And, to kind of maybe give the listeners like a parallel, if they're familiar with, say, like the Big Bang Theory, like you mentioned, if the couples are doing their things separately, but then go on a double date together, it kind of helps build the storyline, like you said, the ensemble of the cast and the whole story of the product.
Yeah, I mean, you could have two couples, one that's totally in sync with one another, and the other couple arguing, have a double date, and the arguing couple can settle their issue at dinner, thus also creating struggle for the other two couple because they didn't realize they were having the same problems.
Right.
And it's all part of, it's all intertwined. And again, that's real life. And I think that's where you look at shows that do those kind of things. Those are the ones that endure. The Big Bangs, the Friends, the Seinfelds, they all had that sort of ensemble. Even Seinfeld, with only 4 main characters, it still was an ensemble. Every one of those characters had their own story throughout the episode. Sometimes you'd put Jerry and George together in their story, but you still had something going on with George over here that might touch on Kramer. So I think those are the shows that endure for me as a fan of television. And that's sort of my writing style as well. I like intricate, detailed, and 2021 is going to be very intricate, very detailed. And it's the most challenging writing I have ever come up with. And it's something I'm going to be real honest here. It's totally unique to our fans and totally unique to most every wrestling fan in the world. It's a very unique idea that I've come up with, and that's going to dominate all of 2021. But it's very intricate, and one thing cannot happen unless you've got everything working together. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And of course, the fun part of indie wrestling is you never know who's going to be around sometimes because nobody's under contract.
Right. Yeah. Well, I like the thoughts. I like that tease, and let the listeners know if you want to see this. The best way to do it for right now, of course, is subscribe to the Twitch feed at twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, of course, you get a Twitch subscription for free. If not, or you got one tied up, nominal fee, $4.99 a month?
$4.99 a month gives you, not only does it give you all the live tapings before they hit television, and we're getting ready, Christmas Eve, we'll have our first episode over on Right Now TV. We're back over there. Things are going to be on Fight TV, all these different places coming up. But you get it before anybody else. Plus, it's commercial free, obviously. You have to be a subscriber to watch the live tapings, commercial free to be any of the different shows that are going on, and all the great things that go on RMP's Twitch channel, from Lilith Grimm and her artwork, which is amazing, to the Rocky Mountain Rewind and watching some of the old shows that we've done for the past decade that Rocky Mountain Pro has been in existence. It's worth the $4.99. But like you said, if you got Amazon Prime and you haven't hooked it to your Twitch, you're missing out. It's a free sub every single month, and it's worth its weight. And there's a lot of things still coming. Even I will be coming to Rocky Mountain Pro's channel here pretty soon with my own weekly. We'll call it a podcast, just out of lack of better terminology at this point.
Yeah, well, it's a show. It's it's a Twitch show, a Twitch streaming thing, whatever. There's no terminology, I don't think, for the Twitch besides a Twitch show.
Yeah, I mean you could break things down to Matt Yaden, he likes to do Mercury in Retrograde, where he's playing all the old NES and Super NES games. He has a mission to play and beat every North American Nintendo and Super Nintendo game in existence. Is that a show? Maybe, maybe not. But you've got Rocky Mountain Rewind, which is a show of a show, which is bizarre.
Right.
So it's very well. What I like about Twitch and a lot of different channels. I mean, you've got you got a regular channel, let's just say Ninja. You know what you're going to get with Ninja. You're going to get video game content, and that's what you're going to get. But there's so much diversity on Twitch now that you can get a channel that's an ensemble, and you're going to get, sports, maybe news, maybe music. And it's just it's almost like adding another satellite service to your television, because there's such diversity on Twitch.
Right. Yeah. There's so many different categories. And that's why I think when you sign up, they go, pick some categories you're interested in and we'll show you some stuff.
Right. And let's be honest, I mean, Twitch has been a godsend for us.
Yeah.
We don't just have a Twitch channel. We're not affiliates. We're partnered with Twitch. Matt is on a call with, people at Twitch several times a month. We all of our wrestling and all of our non-gaming content falls onto the front page. We've got a great relationship with them, and that's allowed us to still have. I'm gonna be honest. It allows us to still have a wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
The amount of promotions that I've heard that have gone under because they don't have that outlet. They don't have television. They don't have a monetary system like Twitch to help keep them afloat and keep the bills paid. They're gone. And so Twitch has really given us that opportunity to weather this pandemic and still be able to not only run shows, but be able to monetize our channel. The great support of all of our fans who do subscribe, that keeps the lights on, and that's the difference between us and maybe another promotion that didn't survive this. And we're grateful and thankful for that opportunity, and we're going to do everything we can to keep putting out stuff for everybody to have value to their dollar.
Yeah, and additionally too, for the talent to be able to get on Twitch, to stretch and flex their creative muscles. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. And it's it's a big topic these days after WWE has pulled all of their talent off of Twitch and other third-party platforms. AEW, quite the opposite. I'm a big fan of that, and I don't know. I mean, I'm going to say this, and if you need to edit it, do it. I don't understand. The only thing I can see from Vince McMahon is that he's not getting a cut of the cash.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, I'm going to be honest about it. If there was a way to incentivize him off of them being on Twitch, I think Vince would be more apt to do it. I believe that when you've got all of our talent on our channel doing whatever it is they do, it gives them a chance to create their brand, to create their fans. Those fans may not be watching, quote unquote, Rocky Mountain Pro Charged, but they like Lilith and her art. And they go, wow, that's kind of cool. What does she do? She's also a wrestler? Let me check that out.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to grow their brand and our brand all in the same time. And the philosophy of RMP, we were just talking with some folks the other night at the school. I don't want everyone on our roster right now. I don't want them here in 3 years.
Right, I get you.
We want them out. I want to see a guy like Damon Ace, who I am big on. I want to see him off our show, and I would love to see him at AEW or WWE or Ring of Honor. That's what we want, because that's what he wants. He wants to go and do things. Well, then we can say, hey, that guy? Well, for example, hey, that great woman wrestler Abaddon, who's over on AEW? Yeah, well, she came through our school. Hey, that guy Otis Dozovich? Yeah, Dozer started in our school. Now he's at WWE. We win when they win. And that's the philosophy that you don't see from independent wrestling promotions. I mean, I just you hear stories all the time about wrestling talent who gets booked in another state for the first time, and their quote unquote home promotion cuts their feet underneath them, buries them. I mean, I just got a story the other night from another promotion here in Colorado, and I use that word very. I don't like to call other promotions that aren't promotions, but anyways,
gotcha.
Who actually were shot on a guy in the ring with chops and all that to punish him to be go to another state and try to wrestle someplace else. And I don't get that mentality, but that's the great thing about us is we want people to express themselves on our Twitch channel. One thing that Matt and I are talking about, he knows I have my own Twitch. He's like, come on ours, promote your channel. That's his words.
Yeah.
Promote yourself out there because the two do work together. And, I'm not going anywhere at my age in this world beyond Rocky Mountain Pro. But I still want to be able to, I'd love to be able to turn my channel into the ability to offset my income to some degree. So it's a great medium. Things that, God, imagine the Attitude Era. Imagine a guy like The Rock or Austin or the early Hardys being on a thing like Twitch and having that sort of connection when the wrestling audience was at its highest ever. Man, that would have been something to see.
Yeah, and where there was an appetite, starvation for more content.
Oh, you couldn't get enough. All you had was 2 hours of Raw. When they gave you 2 hours of SmackDown, you got excited.
Yeah.
Now the WWE, you could claim that there's too much, but there really is still people absorb it all the time. Mm-hmm. They're absorbing the WWE content with the people over on Twitch, so there's still an appetite. But man, oh man, you're right. In those days, the appetite was starvation. I wanted more and more and more and more. I couldn't get enough.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, Titus, I think that might be a fantastic point to wrap this up. But before I do let you go, promo yourself. Tell everybody your Twitch channel, where they can follow you out there on the social media. And then Rocky Mountain Pro, I guess, is having a show next month in December on Twitch. All that good stuff like that.
So yeah, December the 4th, all of our shows are going to be on Saturdays now that we're going to be inside of Fast Peak Performance. So we're not going to be doing like Bierstein or anything. So every Saturday night, it gives us plenty of time to do TV. It'll be I think it's in 2021, it'll be the second Saturday of every month will be our TV tapings going forward. So, Rocky Mountain Pro, RMPWrestling.com. As you mentioned, twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. For myself, you can find my website, evilgeniustitus.live. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/evilgeniustitus. You'll find me everywhere on, whatever, it's Facebook, Twitter, wherever. It's always Evil Genius Titus, except for YouTube. Come follow me on YouTube. I need to get a few more follows so I can change the name from Titus Machiavelli to Evil Genius Titus. I need 7 more people to subscribe to the channel. It's free to subscribe.
So you can change your vanity on
change
YouTube.
My vanity, yeah. So it'll be consistent with everything else that I do.
That's awesome. 7 isn't too much to ask.
That's not too much to ask. It doesn't cost anything to hit subscribe over on Twitter or on the YouTube. For me, I'm going to be doing some different things over on my Twitch channel. I'm going to starting actually this coming Monday. Every Monday, I'm at the school for RMP teaching, as I said, character development. We're going to start streaming that on my channel starting this coming Monday. Kind of give you a chance to see behind the curtain, see what goes on in that side of the wrestling business. Right. So that's going to be every Monday. Of course, every Wednesday is AEW Watch Along, where I sit with the community. We watch AEW. We talk about it. I give my wrestling thoughts. I give my Booker thoughts. Kind of, well, why would they do it that way, Titus? Well, there's this aspect and there's that aspect of pro wrestling. That's always a really good time. That's one of my more better streams that with folks. And then we're flexing right now what we're going to do on Friday or Saturday nights, maybe some random gaming. Still in development there, since I've kind of switched my Twitch around a little bit since I took on so much at RMP.
Right. Yeah, that's.
But I'm not completely all right. there's no more retirements for Titus. I am at RMP until to the end. I don't you're not going to see Titus doing any. I'm not going to be involved much in storyline. Those days of me being what you've seen from me in the past, I got the two best jobs in wrestling right now. I get to write the storylines that, builds the company, builds the talent, and then I get to give the color commentary on top of it. So I'm pretty content with what I'm doing. I think it's the best jobs in wrestling at this point. And not to say you won't see me do something from time to time, but most of my in-ring sort of work is behind me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to see you back personally. Breaking kayfabe a little bit. And I appreciate you coming on, and I can't wait to interact with you, at least for the time being, out there on the interwebs, on Twitch and the so on.
Well, I appreciate it. And as soon as we can get fans back in, man, I look forward to having you and some of our other hardcores be in there. I know it's you got you and Jason and Annie and the others. They've been there for so many years. Such a great support. We have such a great hardcore fan base. We miss you much more than you miss us. Believe me.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. I hear that. Thanks. Once again, a big, huge thank you to the evil genius of professional wrestling, Titus Machiavelli, for coming on to this edition of RMP Radio. All right, well, before we get out of here, let's pay some bills like they used to say back in the day. I want to get some merchandise of your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars. A few ways you can do that, and you can always support these guys and gals in this crazy world that we are living right now, especially in the era of either less shows or no shows to be had with live audiences, for example, that we talked about with Titus there. So a couple things you can do. Head over to rmpwrestling.com, click on the merchandise link, or if you're in the Amazon website or your Amazon app, search for Rocky Mountain Pro. You'll be presented with a few different choices of things you can purchase there. Also, check with your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars. Hit up and see if they've got a Pro Wrestling Tees website store, or maybe a Brainbuster Tees website. And there's a few others out there with Pro Wrestling Tees. Right now, at the time of this recording, a Black Friday sale. So you'll get percentages off of certain items, and I think also if you spend $100 more, you'll get a mystery item in your box. $150 or more, you'll get free shipping if you are in the United States. So that's a great way you can support if you're able to. We don't pressure you guys at all. All right, so upcoming events, like we talked with Titus there's a show on the December 5th, I believe. As we mentioned, it's a no fans, but what we want you to do, head over to twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro, subscribe there. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you do get a free Twitch subscription if yours is tied up, or if you don't, nominal fee, $4.99. Be greatly appreciated if you can do that there. Also, if you want to watch us other places, you can, of course, watch us on the YouTube, youtube.com/Rocky Mountain Pro, and then also youtube.com/RMP on Twitch. Right, like we said, going to be right on Right Now TV here in a little while. So keep an eye out for those, and of course, returning back to Fight TV. Want to follow us out there? A couple different ways we want you to do that. Head over to rmpwrestling.com. That's where everything does stem from. And then on the social medias of the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, of all the name, the Rocky MTN Pro. I'll phonetically once again spell it for you. That's the Rocky Mike Tango November Pro. And then, of course, RMP on Twitch. All right, well, I want to thank you all for listening and supporting here on RMP Radio, where pro wrestling is elevated.